Okay, a very good morning to you, Ed, in Brazil. I saw you were on, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone else on frequency. It's always a pleasure hosting the net or running the net with such esteemed people on net today. Right, let me just bring up the page and see who's all on. Today we have G8KOE Martin. And then, hello, Phil, Mike 0 PIT, and howdy, Frank, long time no see, ZE6 Golf Echo, and then to Peter, Golf Whiskey 7 Bravo Zulu Yankee, and then, of course, Benno again, lovely signal, Benno, Papa Alpha 3 Fox Bravo X-Ray, just home, you say. Hello to Mike, Golf 0 Mike Juliet Whiskey, and then to Ed down in Brazil, Papa Yankee 2 Radio November, and all the way back up to Nick. I'm missing a couple of guys like ZS1MM. I don't know where he's on today, but I'm sure if he is around and not having load shedding, he'd come up. We also want to say hello to a couple of new guys, Dirk ZS6 TJJ, he's listening, and of course to Dean ZS6 DLA. They are quite interested in DATV and just to see what's going on. So we wish to welcome them. I don't see many people on the chat. I hope the thing's going out, by the way. It looks like it. But I'll have a look in a minute on YouTube. So let me just take this away again and then get back to the camera. There we go. Okay, guys. So the next one, Martin, is G8KOE to please take it from ZA6YI.
Right, I think we've got it. It says, I'm just going to hear some voice. And I shall mute myself. I thought for a minute I wasn't going to hear myself. Yeah, thank you, Benno, for clearing that up. Yeah, I put 32 on Dirty. I thought that was the one that one should be using. It's a long time since I've got back on using that particular firmware, the 303. But that's what I'm using at the moment. And anyway, what I was going to talk about, or not talk about, just show what I've been up to with the Bullseye LMB. Not having one of these super 3D printers that everybody seems to print lovely brackets and pieces and this, that and the other. Mine was just wedged in on the end. And it was not fitting as neat as I wanted it, and then I'd upgraded the cable feeding the potty feed to LMR 400, which is a bit thicker. Things were starting to sort of, it doesn't bend quite as much, get in the way. So not having a lathe, which would have made things a lot neater. I'm not capable of using one anyway, so wouldn't have exactly helped very much. We decided to get the hacksaw out. That's obviously the Bullseye LMB that we got, and that's it naked. And I decided to look at where the crease is in there and take the hacksaw to it, which is what we did. We got closer and closer, and that's it. Hacksawed apart. So we sort of rubbed it down a little bit. Then obviously next we had to make it fit to the 22mm. As you can see, if you'd have had it on a lathe and turned it down, but I just sat and filed it until it fitted, and then stuck a coupler on as such, 22mm, which is the way it went for me. Made it quite small. It's just an interference fit, shall we say. I tapped it on and it fitted quite tightly, and I wasn't going to take it off. And then I made a little cover for it, which was just a plastic fitting that I found kicking around that I just cut it. Thought would just protect it from the top a little bit from heat, possibly, etc. Underneath. That was my original LMB on the dish. As you can see, just pushed in, and the cable's starting to sort of get a little bit tight. And that's how we fit now. And so far, working exceedingly well. Quite pleased with it. Let's go back to the full camera. Get rid of those things. The other thing I've been up to is I decided to give Tom's firmware a go on his DATV receiver side of things for the Winter Hill. My knowledge and abilities with doing anything with the Raspberry Pi is not good, to put it mildly. And with the Winter Hill, I've got no means of easily putting a monitor on it. So decided to VNC in it, which seemed to be the VNC viewer. But every time I tried to use it, it came up and said the desktop wasn't available. Well, like I said, my knowledge, and I struggled for ages trying to sort of get things to work in that respect. And it turned out that the resolution hadn't been set such that it would be shown up. So just I SSH'd into it and got to the menu and changed the resolution, and then hey presto, we were in. Did have some other problems, which I think was more my problems of not following the instructions to the letter, because it just sort of kept getting to the end and screaming and shouting and going, this program over the card didn't work for me. But hey, it's all up and running now, so I'm ready for if Tom makes any other alterations. I thought I ought to get to know his Winter Hill version. But it's another good bit of software. I just can't keep up with all the bits and pieces. So just to prove that it is working. There she goes. There's nobody on. But we can select lots of beacons anyway, and possibly another one of me. But yeah, no, good bit of software. Anyway, that's pretty well what I've been up to. I'm sure there was something else, but I've forgotten if it was. A bit of gardening, I expect. Anyway, I see Phil's on. I think he's next in the list. We've had many chats. World War II code breaking machine. I look forward to that. So anyway, I'll put a test card and pop it round to you there, Phil. M0PIT to take it. G8KOE.
I've got audio. Yeah, that sounds good. Let's kill that. Don't want any feedback going on. Yeah, good morning, afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Thanks for the net, Gary. Actually, really enjoy it. And Martin, yeah, your bullseye, mate. As you know, I'm going to do mine. That's one of my next projects.
I must remember to look at the camera and not look at myself. It's terrible. Anyhow, if I'll blot out me and I'll talk to you. What have I been doing during the week? Well, I thought you might find this interesting. I got a call to go down the National Museum of Computing, which is in Bletchley Park, because one of the machines that I was involved with had failed, and I was asked to go down and to take a look at it. And that was where I was yesterday. So to give you a little bit of background, my other life, that's me. That machine there is Colossus, which is the first truly digital electronic computer. It was designed and built to break codes during the Second World War, and it was based at Bletchley Park. You may have seen videos or documentaries of it, but I was involved with the rebuild, and that's me in my younger youth. It must have been about 2007 that was. And on the left-hand side of me is Tony Sell, who was the director of the project. Now, I'm down there next week to do some training, and what I'll do for you guys is I will actually run the machine fully, and I'll walk around it with a video, and so I'll video it for you, so you'll be able to see what it looks like running. But that's Colossus, but that was not what I was called down there for. This is another machine that we built. It does a very similar job as Colossus. It breaks the Lorenz cipher, and it uses paper tape as its input. And Colossus only has one tape. Eve Robinson actually has two tapes. The tape nearest me, if you want, is the message tape, so that tape contains the encrypted message as received. And the second tape, which you really can't see where it is, but there is a second tape there. And that second tape is that has the encryption key that was generated by the cipher machine, which was the Lorenz SZ42. And what this machine does, just like Colossus, it does a pure statistical attack on the code, trying to tease out the starting position of where the key was when the operator sent the message. So you need to find the starting positions. It uses, its logic is very peculiar. It uses balanced modulators of all things as logic gates. And you're going to say, how on earth do you use a balanced modulator? Well, the balanced modulator, these ones here, and you can see the transformers, they're at the bottom, just underneath all those cables, which is the programming part of it. Those are audio transformers, 600 ohm audio transformers. And their circuit is a balanced modulator, so you have a carrier, which is 25 kilohertz going in, and the other input is what represents the noughts and a one, noughts and ones. Now the ones effectively is a positive voltage, and the noughts are a negative voltage, and the effect of that is that there is 180 degrees phase shift on the output of the modulator between a nought and a one, and that is its basics for its logic, believe it or not. Needs a lot of calibration. Colossus used true digital, i.e. it is basically noughts and ones, which are, if you want, high and low, and there's no analog content in it at all as such. Anyhow, I was called in, and it's got several faults, but the fault that I started to look at was the counters. There's two counters on the machine. Let's run a bit of video. Here we go. Now I can't hear this, but I know there's audio there. There's two counters, and those counters have to accept pulses at 1,000 a second. 1,000 pulses a second. And this is 1943 technology. how on earth we count pulses up to and beyond 1,000 bits per second? Well, the front end of it, which is the first decade of the counter, is using thyrotrons. These are fermionic valves that basically just behave like a thyristor. You fire the gate and the thing stays on until you remove the current flowing through it. And that's basically how they work. And there's 10 of those, and basically what happens is every pulse comes in, there's only one valve ever on in the ring, it's the ring of 10, and it just basically moves on one position. So pulse comes in, so let's say number 1 was on, and number 2 goes on, and number 1 will go off. So, and it just goes around the ring. And that's done with thyrotrons. And the next stage is electromechanical, and it uses high-speed relays that were used in telephone systems in this country and a lot of other countries as well. And they will accept, by design and counter using relays, the relays will accept pulses of about 120 per second. And if you consider the pulses, the carry that's coming out of the first stage is only 100, it's 1,000 and 10, so you're only looking at 100, and that is that's using high-speed relays. And then what comes out of that is basically 10 pulses a second, and that goes into standard strategy relays, and no one knows how it goes. Post office 3,000 type relays, and that's the machine that I 4 of us or 5 of us do it. I suppose it took us about 3-4 years to do that. And you can see the second tape now. If hopefully next week, by the time I'll actually finish that and get it all working, if I do, I would take some video of it. There is very little video that exists of that fully running off of the tapes. I did have some, but I can't find it. But anyhow, that's Heath Robinson. I've been waffling too much, so I'm going to hand myself over. Let's go back to me. That's me. That's me. Now, who's on the list next? Let me have a look. Frank. What's that? ZS6GE, I think it is. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Frank. So I'll put the test card up. Test card. There's the test card. So this is M0PIT. Handing it over.
Yes, good day everybody. Very interesting, Phil. Must be quite a job to recreate that old technology. And where did you get thyrotrons from these days? Yeah, anyway. Not much to report from my side. I enjoy the weather. We have sunshine, round about 25 degrees tops at the moment. Not too hot, not too cold. We even had a few drops of rain, so I can't complain. Some time ago I mentioned that I built a light dimmer for my hobby room. So in the meantime it has changed a little bit. Let me just try to get it up. Okay. This is a prototype, and just to recap, I have in my hobby room two 24-volt strings, which must dim down from full brightness to 0 in 4 minutes and back up again. Now I've implemented that in individual ICs, and I had recurring problems with these connectors here. They go to the power feds, so with other words, the base collector emitter, and after a while they failed. Sorry, that was my power fail alarm. As usual, we are without power, so I'm running at solar power at the moment. To come back to it again, this is the hazard, effectively. You can see the heat build up, and these two are actually welded together, and you can't even take them apart. Now, after that happened a few times, I decided, now that is no good, and I built a new one. But before I do that, just a little bit of history. These are the up-down counters, and at the time the part numbering was fairly straightforward. First of all, you have the F for Fairchild, then 4516B is a part number. Then you have PC, P stands for plastic dill, C for commercial temperature range. And this is the date code, 1982, week 28, though they have been in the bin since around about that time, I presume. And the only difference to the normal one is that QR here. Let me see if I can bring it up. What does the QR stand for, just for interest sake? Here is the code explanation, and here it's a 4001 BPC QR. Now that is effectively a tested device, quality tested, not nil standard, but it has thermal shock testing, hot rail test. I'm not quite sure what that is, have forgotten long time ago. 168 hours burn in, and functioning tests. So they're actually quite fancy. Now, why do I show you all that? I'll come back to that. That is what it looks like now. I had a PC board made. Here is a decoder where I remote control the up-down count with that relay. These are the counters again, this time in surface mount. And instead of a whole lot of diodes, I have now OR gates. Now the big difference is now here on the output. I still have a connector that goes to the power feds, but this time the real McCoy, not the copy which I had before. You can see the color indifference. I just put it in for testing. And they are actually rated at 16 amp. How much current do I draw per leg? 11 amp. So each string of LEDs draws 24 volt 11 amps, and these copies just couldn't handle it. Now even those I couldn't get locally, only the standard ones. So I had to specifically get them from overseas, and I hope that they finally will not give me problems. And instead of soldering the LED wires directly in, I go now via these connectors, which come out from the model aircraft scene, I believe. They can handle more than 30 amps. So that should be okay, and it's nice because now I have a quick disconnect if I have to get at it. Now the problem was I switched it all on, and it more or less worked, but what I wanted is on switch on full brightness. Now with a prototype that worked 100%. Now it didn't. It started right at the bottom and took 4 minutes for full brightness. And I tried to find a mistake and there wasn't any. So with other words, these counters have a 4-bit input which you can pre-program and load into the counter. Now I wasn't planning to use those, but you have to tie them to something, so I tied them up to positive. And if you start up the whole circuit on the prototype, it starts with full brightness. This one starts with full darkness. So I couldn't figure that one out. The only difference is that the old ICs were Fairchild. These ones are Texas. Now Fairchild has changed hands quite a few times, but this one definitely behaves different on switch on. Once working, then they're identical. Now that is a classic. It has happened, I had it before, that you know, it's supposed to be the same part, but it doesn't behave the same way. So I had to then modify that where that wire comes in. Now I force it high on switch on, and now it finally works. Okay, so that's what it's worth. Just have to get it all back on again. Anyway, I'm happy now. I put it all also in a new box. I know it's a primitive circuit. You can't buy it off the shelf. That was the main problem. And I just thought, for interest's sake, that with different brands of ICs, different behavior, might be of a little bit of interest. Okay, Peter, you're next. Golf Whiskey 7 BZY Z6 Golf Echo.
Okay, GW7BZY. All right, got me notes. Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. It's been a while. I think I've been working most of the time. Oh, the wife dragged me away. Probably working. KOE, Martin. Yeah. It's Sunday, Martin. Just in case you were confused. Looks pretty good. I'm very impressed, Martin. I'm surprised. I'm impressed by your engineering there. It looks pretty good. I've gone the easy route and put another dish up. I may see if I can get my bullseye working again. I don't see me purchasing one, but I might get another one and then put a GPS link on it, and then that might be quite useful. I think I heard you speaking earlier. What brand of software using in your device and your Pluto? I'm using the 202 and it works. Although I would maybe like to change it, but as it's working, I think I'll leave it as it is. It's probably a best plan. Fascinating stuff there. Very interesting PIT. Phil. Great stuff. The old computer there going. I don't know if I'm dropping out on others, but I seem to be a bit disappearing and coming out in funny patches on my receive, so I don't know what's going on. But anyway, hopefully somebody might inform me whether or not it's not working very well or not. I don't know. Martin, I'm sure you'll tell me. So I'd put more power up, maybe, just in case. Yeah. Have I been doing anything amateur television wise apart from getting my dish up on my second dish? Not really. I've been out playing with camera a little bit. I think that's the next thing, make a bit of a project. Very interesting stuff there, Frank, with your old technology. Fantastic stuff. But that's about it, really. I've been out today, a bit of landscape gardening. I got tools out. The missus wanted a hump in the garden removed, so I've been doing that this morning. And I've been out to Port Maddock. Very nice chippy down there. Sunday dinner in Port Maddock. It's a nice seaside town, just about 13 miles down the coast from me. That's about it, really. That's all I've got to say. I am thinking about. I did buy a new graphics card, which didn't work for me, which I was going to do in AV1, which something I wanted to play with. OBS doesn't seem to want to work. AV1 in my computer, and just had an upgrade, an update from Windows, and I've been having quite a lot of problems. OpenTuner wouldn't work. It would fire up the back text page, but it wouldn't open the box to show any receive. And it's still, it's got it working now. I've got it working now, but it's still very unstable. If you fiddle with it at all or tune it about too much, it crashes. So obviously there's a problem with the latest Windows update, surprisingly. And even Minitune falls over, and you've got to be very careful with that as well, because it just crashes. So obviously Windows moving on, and been a pain as usual. So I may have another dish. That's my only look. Everything works. While it's working, it stays working. I could do with the winter. I've got the board for the Winter Hill project, and I've got one tuner. But I don't think I'm going to spend the money. I feel, I don't really want to spend the money for something I've already got. I've got a Minitune in a little box, and that works. I've got the Ride, which I don't use. I'm not a big fan on the Raspberry Pi. It works, but it crashes. It keeps crashing, then you have to switch it off and switch it on until the program gets corrupted, and then you have to buy another card to get it working again. So I think I'd rather Windows. I'm a Windows fan. So as any fan of any computer, it's a tool, and while it's working, I leave it alone. That's the usual thing. With that, I hand it on to, I forget who. PA3 FBX Benno. I say hello to Gary as well. Very good. I would note to say that it looked very good picture from you today, Gary. Excellent. I have to say, I didn't notice the background, but your colour and everything was really good. Nicely coloured. That's right. Over to Benno from GW7BZY, trying to look at the camera instead of wandering his eyes round. Shall we go test card? Yeah. Shall we do a fly rotate this time? Flash fades, etc., but courtesy of vMix. Is it going to work?
Hi guys, just at home. Well, not just at home, I'm at home, but that means I'm not somewhere else today and trying to get in the net like last week. By the way, that was the last transmission by Papa Alpha 100 Kilo Mike, and the guys loved it to conclude the net the weekend. It was a unique location, pretty much. It should be a radio silence there, as they have all kind of terrestrial investigation on all kind of frequencies we are using. So they really like it's quiet over there, and we could use that site for that weekend, and it was a marvelous weekend. Well, anyway. What did I have been up to this week? In 2 weeks I will be, basically next week already, I will be on a new camping ground where I'm going to set a ham camp weekend during the Pfingsten. I'm not sure how it's called in English, but we are going to have a camp in 2 weeks under another call sign, which I will also be active, and I will try to come in the net also then during that weekend. But we will be mostly active on the narrowband as well, as that worked flawlessly and is less work. But there will be also some other hams, and we were working together on the Langstone project. So this triggered me to do some work again the last few days and this weekend and the coming few days on my Langstone project. The guys I've shown you before. Let's see if I have my shaky cam. It's right here. It's basically on the side at the moment, but we see a right touchscreen and a Langstone with the port zone just below that. And by now I have this screen inside there as well, creating all kind of tools for me with another Arduino. So there are actually 2 Arduinos and 2 Raspberries, what you're looking at the moment. But I am working on the inside, on the stomach, and it's a real mess at the moment, and I need to figure out why things work and things don't work. And so this is basically the next job for me over the next few days. Why it doesn't work, because it should work but it doesn't, and I already have found several parts which are brand new and not working. So how that sounds familiar. Frank. So that's my job for this week, and try to figure out and to modify. And by the way, the relays in there, which are very handy at the moment, because I just pull out the power where I don't want to power on, and the control can all be continue, but that will be solid state as well with some MOSFETs. Okay, well, come back to myself. I think that covers it for now. Like I said, just at home, decent signal. I can even raise it a little bit, but I think I'm way in the threshold as it should be. So leave it with that. Passing it on to Mike. ER question mark. I know what it does in Dutch, but I haven't a clue what you think about that, what you meant with that, Mike. Golf 0 Mike Juliet. Oh, sorry, I have one other question, a quick question. I have one of those, and this is Motorola microphone. It's completely sealed, so it's really watertight or whatever it is. And it had a very nice plug on the outside, on the end, which is kind of useless, so I cut it obviously, and now I have a bunch of nice color wires. Anyone who would be able to give me a clue, besides just putting measure it out, what kind of color I would find for at least the microphone and the PTT button, which I need, because that's something I want to create next. Create some kind of connector on that, instead of using my Yaesu microphone, which I made the control for the connection to my multi-band transceiver, I made the user connector, the RE845 connector, which is kind of handy because I have lots of them and I can work with that. So I'm using that as a microphone connector, but now obviously I need something to connect to this wires. So any person who has a clue where to look, I already searched the net and I found several links to it, and they all are dead links. I don't like dead links, but hey, this is how life works. Microphone back to you, on to you, Mike. G0 Mike JW PA3 Fox Bravo X-ray. Let's see, do I have a test card? I should have. Yes, I have. Bye bye.
There you go. Thank you, Benno. Right. A few comments first of all. Hopefully I've got the sound and it might be roughly in sync or possibly not. We'll start with Colossus, I think, because that was very interesting, Phil. I didn't realise that you'd been involved in building that, so I know it was a lot of work. What I can't imagine is how much of work it would have been in the 1930s and 1940s when they did it the first time around. But I do remember appeals for valves. That's where the valves came from. People had them knocking about, and I think they must have got enough of the right sort to build it. Because the original was all smashed up, wasn't it? In fact, it was all secret until the 70s. No one had heard of it. So it's good to see it rebuilt. And Frank, on your current carrying connectors, or rather lack of current carrying connectors, I think we're all familiar with that, especially when you get connectors that aren't what they claim to be, like fake power poles that don't work at the level they're supposed to. Right, okay, I'm just looking at the signal level, noting it's a little bit low perhaps, so I'll just up it a bit. Hopefully that'll help for the weaker receivers. What was I going to talk about? Oh, Benno, sorry, I forgot to comment on the microphone. I think it would take you maybe 5 minutes to buzz that out with a multimeter. Considerably less time than it will take you to search for a result online, and then having found that result and applied it, discover that it was wrong. So I would go with the checking it out. It shouldn't take that long to work out where everything goes. Just by measuring a few impedances and working out where the buttons are. But I guess the other thing to do would be to look inside the radio and see how it's wired up. But that might be a little bit more difficult, because if you haven't got the radio, then you can't do that. On the Langstone and the complex things, I tend to try and make PCBs. That's why I did the GPIO board for the Langstone stroke ride, which I've got in one of mine now. It gets rid of all that point-to-point wiring, which tends to be what's unreliable. Wires come off or put in the wrong place, but these things grow organically. They're never all that easy to build. So what have I been doing anyway? I spent some time writing software for the amplifier, and I'm going to go over to the bench camera and show you. I'm not going to bore you with the amplifier again there, because I showed you that last week, but I've made some progress and got it now switching with the IC705 and Bluetooth. I've discovered a problem as well to do with phantom power that I'll have to sort out. But now, what I'm going to talk about, firstly, I've just built this rather nice, I don't know if you can see there on the side, this one. This is G3XDY's 23 SEMS power monitor and filter. I just built that up this morning from the kit of parts that he does. I've not tested it yet. I've measured the match on 23 SEMS and I've tuned one of the stubs, but I came to the shocking realization I don't have a 6 GHz vector network analyzer to hand. Mine only goes to 4 GHz. So that's going to require some extra work, and that extra work will have to be done by borrowing somebody else's, I think, because I could use a return loss bridge and a signal source, but I haven't got a 6 GHz signal source. I've got a gap between 4 and 8 GHz in all of my signal generators, so can't really tune up the second or third harmonic very easily. Now, anyway, to the side of this is a rotary encoder, and this was something that came up on the UK net. What I've got here is a board that I've built a long time ago now, probably about 6 or 7 years ago, and it's one of those absolute rotary encoders that uses an SSI interface, synchronous serial interface, that come on the market every so often at good prices, or can be bought at extremely high prices if you want to. And I thought I'd just show this because people were asking about how they can find out the position of their dish, and this is the sort of thing you want to do that with. So I'm just going to zoom out a bit and just to prove it's live. Now, I've only got one rotary encoder attached at the moment, and only via temporary wiring, because I've got the plugs for the encoders, which cost more than the encoders, but I don't know how long the cable's going to be, so I've not wired them up yet. Anyway, what I will do is go and turn the thing and demonstrate that it works. Let's hope it does. Hopefully you can see something happening there. I zoom around, 338. Now they're pretty accurate, they're very repeatable, but only a limited number of bits, unfortunately, so good to about 0.1, 0.2 of a degree, which is usually enough, unless you're trying to use a 2.4 metre dish on 24 gigahertz or something. So there you go. No, Matt, it doesn't go to 6 gigahertz, it only goes to 4. Tiny SA Ultra. That's a spectrum analyzer. So the spectrum. Oh, hang on, let me go to a picture of me. Spectrum analyzer goes to 6 gig, yeah. That's not a problem. I've got a 7 gig 6 spectrum analyzer, and under the bench I've got one that goes to 22 gigahertz. It's an old one, but I don't know, but it'll do. The problem is you need an exciting signal, and I don't have one that goes between 4 and 6 gigahertz. So I can do 4 to 8, and 8 to 12, and 20 to 40, and 0 to 3, and 0 to 4. But I can't do 4 to 8, so a bit stymied there. Unless I use multipliers, which I can do. I can wire up a multiplier and drive it as a second harmonic, but I didn't get around to doing that, and the easier way is to just take it to a round table at some point, because I've no immediate need for it, but the idea is to try and clean up the 23 SEM signal. Not that it's not clean, but just in case. Okay, don't think there's much else to say, so I will pass it on, and I believe it goes round to Ed. Ed, your remarkable video last week. Slight problem with the video bandwidth, I think, but the really impressive thing was the portable mobile roaming phone that you had that allowed you to run all around the campsite and show things. Very good. So maybe we'll hear more of that, I don't know. Anyway, let's go around to you. So find a test card and PY2RNG0MJW.
Okay, guys, hope wow, I just started decoding myself as 4 by 3. Yeah, and now it seems I cannot change. I'm using OpenTuner. I cannot change. I don't know where to change to 16 by 9. All right, I don't know. Hope you guys are seeing 16 by 9. Uh, nice net. Hello, everybody. Greetings from Brazil. Um Thank you, Mike, for mentioning about last week. Yeah, that was a real fan. I mean, it was full of people. And last year we got a problem with the PA to transmit the ATV. And this year we got a problem with energy. The energy there, power was very unstable, and the truck has a generator, but I think it was not used for a long time, and the diesel was too old, and we tried to start a generator, and we could not make it working. So we got few problems with the energy there. But the batteries also support 2 or 3 hours, but that's all. And we have AC inside, so it's a lot of consumption. Anyways, but I think most of people get delighted to see capabilities of QO-100, both on voice and TV. They were very impressed, very nice. Yeah, for projects I'm using here. I finished my interface. Let me change to the shaky cam. Yeah, I changed my interface because I use this radio. It's a SDR, and I got lots of problems forgetting to switch my LPF, my low pass filter. That I had to use this manual switch, and now I just built the interface where I command you know, all the bands through the software. As soon as I select the band, like it's now 6 meters, I can change it to 40 meters, 20 meters. So I just you know, select the band, and it will automatically change the LPF to the correct band, so I don't incur in the risk of blowing anything here. This is also a homemade small amplifier, only 600 watts. And interesting thing, Mike, you mentioned about power poles. I'm up to discover the right way to, you know, the best way to put the feed, the 50-volt feed to these amplifiers that I assemble. I'm using this type of connectors, RCA, which obviously I use only the center pin, but that's not good. That's not good. And I was trying to find some better oh, I don't know if you guys saw what I showed. I don't know, a little confused, but it's not the best solution. Far to be the best solution. And I was thinking about the power poles, but for the panel power poles, I only found this kind of option. Which is not quite suitable for my needs. I mean, it's good to do a panel, but like an external panel, it will be perfect. But for like little panel or something, I didn't find yet to put that. And Mike, very interesting project. That I think that could be used with this guy here. that's you know, dual axis. Actually, it's azimuth elevation, very cheap rotator. I saw the specs here. It seems it can handle up to 35 kilograms somewhere. It's here. Yeah, it's it works with 5 volts, 12 and 24, 30 watts motor, and vertical load 25 kilos. 25 kilos. Yeah, it could be a good option also for the project you're doing there. Very interesting. Yeah, guys, I think that's it from my side. I'm gonna pass to Nick. Go for India Mike Oscar from Papa Yankee to Romeo November. Go ahead, Nick, please.
Yeah, okay, Ed, thanks for that. It's very good. I've got my audio. Turn that down there. Where's my camera? There we go. There we go. Right, afternoon to everybody. Nice to see you all on here. It's very warm here this afternoon, up to 18 degrees. So, but tomorrow it's going to be freezing cold again. So there we go. Oh, tomorrow I shall be celebrating. I will be 72 years old tomorrow. So, in fact, we started celebrating today. So, just had a nice slice of lemon cheesecake for lunch. Very nice. And we got some chocolate cake tomorrow. Yeah. Anyway, I changed my caption on my test card because Frank came up and said he got 60 years of ham radio. So I thought, well, that's no good. So I put it 53 years on amateur TV. First QSO was 1970 with a I think it was a QQVO 320 tripler. So 53 years of amateur television. It's amazing how the technology has changed. Anyway, I'll quick run down the list here. I haven't got anything to report really. Yeah, Martin, okay on the hacksaw to the LMB. Yeah, yeah, that LMB, that's the same type that I've got here. They seem to work very well. But I just drilled a hole in the end of it, the plastic, and it seems okay anyway. It hasn't dropped off, so seems to work. I think they've gone up in price now, aren't they? I think they've put the price up. Phil, the video on the Colossus, yeah, that's very interesting. I don't know what those little red valves were. They look a little bit like EF39s. Don't know, maybe not. But yeah, it's quite amazing. That machine. Did you say the other one was called Heath Robinson? Yeah, I have various pieces of equipment here that I call Heath Robinson, but not the same. But yeah, absolutely amazing, isn't it? When they were developing that in the 1940s. Frank, the light controller there with those chips, yeah, but maybe they're fake ones, you know. You know, I don't know. You didn't say where you got them, but quite often on eBay there's sort of Chinese copies and things of various semiconductors and things. So who knows? Who knows? Right, what else was there? Oh, Mike, the rotary encoder looks very nice. Yeah, I haven't seen those on eBay. I was thinking about making something to track these satellites, these low orbit satellites. Having looked at Tom's web page, ZR6TG, and so I was looking around for some motors. So I found something suitable, but I don't know. The problem is the shaft of the motor shaft is only about 1 inch long, but by the time you put a little cogwheel on there to drive a pot, you've only got about 1/4 of an inch left. So it looks like that's going to have to be extended. So what started off as something quite simple is now turning into something a lot more complicated. So, anyway, we'll see. Sort something out there. Yeah, Ed, the photograph there, very nice at the start there of the man changing all those cables. That reminds me of being out in the Philippines. All the cables are all overhead out there down the side of the road on the poles. There's just hundreds and hundreds of cables. How on earth they work out which one's which, I've no idea. But I think they have the same thing in places like India, don't they? It looks absolutely a right mess. That's about it, really. What have I been doing? Oh, I was going to ask, what's the most reliable way to store videos? I mean, in the old days, you used to always store on video cassette, didn't it? Videotape. But I transferred some of my videos onto these. I bought some Philips Philips Plus RW DVDs with the intention of being able to store them for a considerable length of time. But the problem is something has happened to them and they won't play anymore. I don't know whether you'll see this, but if I put that on there, you probably can't see. Hang on. It acts like a good mirror. Can you see? No, you can't see. Hang on a minute. Let me go to a bigger screen on here. I should have got my eagle eye. Where's the... Ah, there. Just about where my finger is. Can you see those marks there? Can you see those marks there? Yeah, you can just about see those if I can get it camera right. There. Anyway, so something has happened to them, so they won't play anymore. So they're now lost. So I don't know, maybe whether you store them on a USB stick, whether they're reliable, or a hard drive. I mean, this computer has got a solid state hard drive in it, so I don't know what would be the most reliable place to store videos now. I remember on we had a program here in the UK called Tomorrow's World way back in the 1980s. I think 1981. I think 1980s. Anyway, Tomorrow's World, and there was a chap on there. The presenter was showing the latest audio CDs that had come out. So and he held up one of these CDs and said, "Oh, they're indestructible." And he then went ahead and scratched it. But if you watch the video on YouTube, you find that he puts it into a CD player, and then he puts another one into a CD player, and then he puts another one into a CD player to prove that it's allegedly compatible with different CD players. But the one he actually played wasn't the one that he scratched. So all very misleading. But yeah, they're not as reliable as they would like to make out, are they? Anyway, that's about it. The only other thing I've done, I've installed Tom's latest open tuner, 7F, which works very, very well indeed. The only problem I have with it is up in the top left-hand corner, when you the drop-down menu where you want to close the program, when you try and close it, sometimes it freezes. So it's the only way to close the program is to open up the Windows Task Manager. So, but anyway, apart from that, it works very well. Right, I think that's about it. Oh, yeah, I think that's it. So I see Leon has put himself on the list. So good afternoon to you, Leon. And if you're ready, I will pass it round to you. ZS1 Mike G4 IMO.
Good heavens, I'm actually on. Do I have audio? Let me just check. Good heavens. Yeah, I have got audio. Okay, good afternoon, gentlemen. Sorry I'm late. It is freezing here in Worcester. Something went wrong with the weather, and we are having summer winds, which is southeasterly, which we shouldn't have in winter. So, and they are freezing. So I was having a bit of a lie down in the room, and then I got woken by the church bell ringing 4, and I realized, oh my word, I've still got to start the UPS here because I don't leave it running, and we're in load shedding, the same as Frank there. We haven't got power at the moment, so I'm running off batteries. But I had to do all of that, start both computers and everything. So yeah, that made me late. I didn't see anything of Gary because I was too late. I only saw the tail end of Martin's beautifully polished L&B system there. So yeah, right. Yes, I was actually hoping that Michael would be on. He was on, I think, 2 weeks ago when he was talking about VU meters and PPMs and things. And this is what we used. Let me just get the reflection off. In the broadcast industry here in South Africa, it's an Ernest Turner PPM meter. This is just one that I put in a little box with a lithium battery and a DC to DC converter because it runs on 24 volts. And I use it for various odd jobs. I managed to get a lot of these that they chucked out. It's got a big circuit thing. It's actually a double circuit board. And I used them when I built my commercial radio station in Bredasdorp. They asked me, can you build us a radio station? So I said, yeah, okay, I'll build you a radio station. And I used some of these. I later replaced them with the same software ones that you guys see nowadays. But they're good. Anyway, okay. But Michael's not here. Is something not working, or is there a WhatsApp? No. It's not for here. Right. Okay, some comments. Okay, I've seen Martin's L&B. Full. Fantastic. I'm not a computer guy. I know nothing about computers. Totally illiterate about that. But that is fantastic. I've heard about those ancient machines. And yes, I immediately noticed the red valves. It looks like Mullard or Phillips ones or something like that. Those red metallized valves. And yeah, Thyrotrons. I still have lots of Thyrotrons. I have, what is it, 2050. They're the octal ones, and then I have a lot of miniature 7-pin ones. The miniature 7-pin ones we used in the broadcast industry on the FM relay stations for the diversity reception. They would switch to the better of the two receivers. We had two receivers receiving two different paths from two different transmitting stations, and the best one would feed our transmitter. So yeah, we used Thyrotrons there, but that was also 30 years ago. It's I don't think they even have diversity reception anymore. It's everything's changed. I think they get the feed from the satellite now. Okay, but that's very. And I can't wait to see that video that you want to make, Phil, of that machine running. I'll definitely make a recording of that. Okay, Frank, your light system. Okay, I see you've got a very snazzy board there now, and you're using some decent high current connectors. About the reversal of the IC function, yes, you have to be very careful where it comes from and all the prefixes and suffixes. I've also been caught out there sometimes. Right, Peter, very nice picture. Your camera is really set up correctly now, I'd say. It's a very pleasing picture, very sharp, very nice, and obviously your audio has always been good. Right, Benno. Now what did I write here? Oh my word, my writing. Your TV project thing. Oh, you had that box with all the different receivers and all the things in there. Yes. Okay, the microphone wires. I agree with Mike. To find the PTT is easy. You just buzz around all those ones while pressing the PTT. To find the mic, that is either if it's a modern thing, it'll have an electret microphone in there, or if it's a little bit older, it'll have a dynamic with an amplifier in there. Most of them are like that nowadays. They don't just put a big dynamic insert in there anymore and bring it out. Not the modern stuff. So you make like a 1K resistor coming from, say, plus 8 volts. With an amplifier, with a DC blocking cap on a little amplifier where you can listen, and then you just go through all the wires, and you'll find a place where you'll have audio coming from the microphone. That's the quickest, because you need to bias it. If it's got a little amplifier, it needs power. That's what I would do. I hope you find it. Looking for things like that on the internet, I haven't been very successful with. If it's a radio that you want a circuit diagram or a installation manual or something, it's a different story that you find. Okay, Mike. Yeah, nice encoder that. I wonder whether it's optical. We used optical ones at work. It's got a glass plate with very fine little thingies on it, and fine slits with photo transistors and LEDs and things. That yeah, but there they used gons. They weren't talking about degrees. It was all in gons because of Swiss stuff. Anyway, okay, Ed. Yeah, nice rotator that, and the price is good. I mean, gee whiz. L over as rotators, even those Yaesu ones are very expensive. So that's a good price. Yes, you must tell us what you're doing with it. Okay, and then Nick, congratulations on your 72nd birthday tomorrow. Yes, that's good. You lead me by quite a number of years, but anyway, the DVD stuff. Okay, so the best thing to store on is a DVD, but not a rewritable. Normal DVDs are very similar to CDs, and when recordable CDs came out, we did a test at work. We recorded some data, some digital data on one of them, and put it on the roof of the building. It's a flat concrete roof, and we left it there for a month in the sun and retrieved the data, played it back, and faultless, nothing wrong. Then we thought, no, we want more UV. So I don't know if you realized the old fluorescent tubes at the ends where the filaments are, they've got so much UV radiation there that originally the starters were aluminium cased, but the later starters were plastic cased, and the UV would eat up the plastic case of those starters. So we realized, okay, there must be quite a bit of UV there. So we put the thing there next to the fluorescent light. We hung it up there for years and played it, and faultless. And it was the same disc that was on the roof. So they are virtually indestructible. But then, of course, it depends on the brand. You get really cheap stuff that doesn't last, and then you get good stuff. Now, you're having a Philips one there, which should be good, but it's re-recordable, and I think that's where the problem is. The spots worry me. That's normally either moisture or fingerprints on it. You have to handle them absolutely by the edges with very clean, very dry hands. I mean, I've got CDs that I recorded more than 20 years ago, I'd say, and they are still spotless. They can handle scratching as long as it's on the clear side, because the active materials are actually on the back. They can handle quite a bit of scratches, especially diagonal scratches, not in line with the rotation. They don't like that, but if they have diagonal scratches, they can handle quite a bit. I still classify that as the safest storage means today, is CDs or DVDs, but only write once, not rewritable ones. My second option would be a portable hard drive. Memory sticks and things are totally unreliable. They're too volatile. No, I wouldn't store anything of value on that. It's okay for short term and transferring files and so on. That's my penny's worth. Okay, Gary, good afternoon to you. I see that you did get the manual, and I also found the fourth power head in Bredasdorp. Brought it out here and also fitted that with a new TFT filament, and it's working perfectly. My other one that didn't want to work, I measured the capacitor. Oh yes, and it should be about 4 nanofarad, the series capacitor with a center pin, and they're all in that area. But the faulty one is like almost open. So yeah, that the one that I did first for myself has definitely got a coupling condenser problem, and it's not the TFT alone that was shot. They must have had a lot of power into that thing, or damaged it with a poor connector and put force on the center pin and cracked the series ceramic condenser. But anyway, over to you, Gary. ZS6 Yankee India for the group. This is ZS1.
Okay, Leon, nice to see you. Frog in the throat, sorry about that. Excuse me, guys. Okay, very good. It's been quite a nice round. Firstly, on YouTube, hello to Nigel. He's gardening, so he's watching, though. Hello to Peter, Delta Kilo 3 Fox Juliet, or Zulu Foxtrot, as you were, Peter, Delta Kilo 3 Zulu Foxtrot. And then I don't know how to pronounce the name, Texema, Echo Alpha 2 Alpha Alpha. Good afternoon to you. And to Ohan, ZS1 SCI. It's Ohan, it's about time you come back on the net here. Anyway, Nick, firstly, happy birthday for tomorrow. And you see, I've got a thing up. I got my license on the 17th of May 1973, so it's a couple of years already. Anyway, yeah, I started as a little schoolboy in 1968 building crystal radios, and it went on from there. Yeah, okay. One question for you, Martin, G8KOE. By doing what you did, cutting it off and so forth and making it very robust, did you actually see any improvement? I normally use the beacon as my reference. And I did a very similar thing, also cut it off, but I did it on the lathe, and it made it, and also that long, shall we call it wave guide, cut that a lot shorter as well. And I did, in fact, see quite an improvement. So it'd be interesting to see if you did. And then Phil, a fascinating piece you gave today. Fantastic. Thank you very much. And in fact, I visited Bletchley Park and also the ham station in 2019. 2019. And it was very good. It was one, I think, Monday morning. And it was nice meeting the chaps there. But I had spoken. They had a little QO-100 satellite there, satellite station at Bletchley Park about 2 weekends before I went through. Then I went to meet my grandchild, William. And so my daughter said, well, let's go down to Bletchley Park. It was a very, very nice afternoon, except I think the Mondays are all the retirees are there. There were busloads of them, and but it was good fun all the same. Now I was just thinking of Ed's picture. Yes, can you imagine, Phil, if your wiring was like Ed's comic? I think that would have driven you nuts. Anyway, Frank, that's a nice board you've made there, or got made, and pleased to see it's working. Yeah, these things can mess you around. When I was in the army, I designed a squelch unit. Man, and exactly what happened to you, it flipped. It was the inverse. Yeah, and I battled with this thing. And where I had my ham shack, because I had a ham shack in the army, I was very fortunate. So I used to walk, it's about 2 kilometers almost, to where the officers' mess was. So I'm walking. Now it's about 12 o'clock at night, and I battled with this thing. I get within 100 yards, and I realize my mistake, and or how I could solve it. So I turned around there. That's when you are enthusiastic and fit. Walked all the way back, put a different type of transistor in instead of a PNP and NPN, and just biased it, and away it went. Worked like a bomb. But yeah, sometimes a bit of fresh air also helps. But yeah, I also prefer those model aircraft plugs and sockets. Can take a lot more power, and you don't want to have heat like that near a PC board, so best is properly socket them. Peter, you had a Windows update issue, so did I. My computer updated last night, and my laptop early in the week, and yes, I had problems. I couldn't detect the camera. That Blackmagic board it was deaf to the world, so I had to mess around with that last night, but I got it going eventually, and all's good. But I hate these updates because they don't consider what you might have set up. They just bang you, and then it's up to you to sort it out. So anyway, your video, brilliant today. Really, really crystal clear. Every dot on your shirt, very, very nice indeed. Very nice. Benno, everyone suggested measure the mic. I totally agree. You could have done it by now just listening to the comments. I know a chap that might have. I'll ask him if you want to. But, you know, it's not necessarily every color is always the same. But they're good microphones, by the way. I've got them on the DMR, Motorola DMR transceiver. And that's exactly that same thing with that flat plug that nobody knows what's happening. Mike, yeah, that rotary encoder looks good. It seemed very sensitive. Just a little touch and it ran away, unless you were doing it a bit harder than what we thought. But it's working beautifully. Yeah, we use a lot of that type of thing in our polyurethane machines, in our injection molding machines to get positioning. And they are photographed very, very, I think it's about 2,000 pulses. And you can even go higher. Some of them, I think, are 5,000 pulses per rev. And, of course, very, very accurate stuff, because you got to, if you're dealing with, for example, 2,000-ton machine coming and it's got to stop within a fraction of a millimeter before it goes into high power. You don't want 8 tons of mold to crash. So those are the type of things that we use to get it to where you need it, and other safety devices as well. But yeah, it's a nice project you're working on there. And then, yeah, Ed, you had the wrong camera on, but you were telling us about your switching from the one band to the other. So I pulled your leg on the chat group there. I said, you need a switch like that on your cameras. And I must say, you've reduced weight rapidly. But anyway, we know the camera wasn't quite on the right, on the normal format. But I think it was on 4/3. But anyway, all good. Yeah, congratulations on last week. It came out very well. Now, here's an interesting thing. On my mini tuner, I sometimes lost audio. But on the ride, perfect. And luckily, I used the ride for YouTube, so you could go back, and it was very good. I'd like to know how you actually transmit from your phone to your base station, and from there, of course, on to DATV. That's the easy part. But how do you do that? Be keen to know what you guys did there. And then, Nick, once again, happy birthday for tomorrow. I had to chuckle at Mike saying, you don't look 71. That's today, of course. You don't look 71. But tomorrow, everything may change with all the chocolate cake. But anyway, have a lovely birthday tomorrow, and we wish you well. Right, with that, I pass it all the way back to G8KOE from ZA6YI.
Yeah, thanks there, Gary. I think we've got it. I'm not listening to the sound coming back, but we'll assume that it's working. Things all seem to be moving. Yeah, modifying the LMB, definitely an improvement on the beacon. Conditions over here have been quite changeable with sort of rain in the air, etc. So the beacon has been going up and down quite a lot. But I've definitely been receiving it stronger than I ever used to. So I would have said yes, without a doubt. But it's just been so much easier to couple it all up in that way. And yeah, it sort of, I think I've seen others that have done it on the lathe, and it's obviously so much neater. But there was I with my little filing away, and slowly thinking we'll get there eventually. I think it was about half an hour of going round and round and round, and it coupled up and fitted a treat, and then it's been working ever since. What was I say to Phil? The one was talking about the red top valves, and the ones I can remember are E50s, I think, which were used in TV. You could swap them all around. There was just going to be loads of these red valves. I think it was EF50s, metal can things. Maybe I'm wrong. Probably the memory's gone with the sort of age. And was it Frank and the ICs? Yeah, that was very good. And that printed circuit board looked superb. Absolutely. I don't think I could do that. I look at all these boards that people keep making and then sending off and getting them produced or whatever, and yeah, it looks really nice. So yeah, pleased for you there. Leon, I was going to comment on you said it's getting cold. Well, I had to dig the fan out today, as you can see behind me. Yeah, I was getting hot when I came in from doing a little bit of gardening. So I disappeared up in the loft and dragged the fan down and got it ready to cool me down. It's quite funny, really. It's cooled off now, though, I will admit. The sun hasn't been out today. Benno, yeah, thanks for all the information. It's at least I'm using what I think is the right one, V32. I thought that was it. That's what I've got loaded on at the moment. And yeah, I wasn't sure which of the little updates that one was did. I just did the one that was on Tom's page, he had a link to one, so I think that put 3 lines of code. But I noticed in his picture there was about sort of 6 lines of coded updates. So I don't know, but I'm using DATV Easy, which confused me a little bit because originally I was using DATV Easy just with no firmware other than what was 32 on the machine, and I could change everything quite happily, power, etc., and it would change on the fly sort of thing. But then putting 303 in, found that I had to sort of make an alteration, stop and restart the program for it to then send the information and update it. Because at one night I decided to sort of update the second Pluto. I was sort of swapping them over, etc., and I had nothing working, and I was thinking, as you do. But anyway, following day got a little bit sort of more technical in locating what the problem was. The other thing I did notice is that the CD version gives a lot less output, so I had to amp it up a bit more because I'm in the lounge, and there's a fairly long feed. The other thing I thought I had some method of measuring really low power, but all my crude little measuring devices didn't seem to work. So I was thinking, oh no, not broken another Pluto. So I've only got one damaged Pluto now. I've got 2 working ones, one of an early version and one of the CD. So I must set myself up a little power meter for certainly the low levels. There's probably loads of other things that I was supposed to comment on, but been really good at. And the Bletchley Park, the last time I was at Bletchley Park was when the BATC had a rally there, and I can't remember what year that was, but yeah, it was good, very good indeed. Right, so it's on to Phil next to take it. So hope you're ready, and hope your gardening's going okay. Lots of plug plants, isn't it? So I said 7 all. See you all next week. I'll put a test card and over to you there, Phil, from G8KOE.
There we go. Let's put me up. There we go. Not sure if we've got audio. We have. Have we got audio? Yep. Yeah, so I'll kill that. Yeah, right, okay. Got a few questions. Frank, valves, firetrons, etc. They've all been donated to us over the years, and they are still being donated to us. Got a nice store of all sorts of valves, right the way up to a big transmission valve that came out of rugby, which is, you can't lift that on your own. You need 2 people to actually lift it. It weighs an absolute ton, but that's another story. Peter, Windows update. I mustn't gloat because I don't have those type of problems because all my machines are Linux and any updates are controlled by me, and I just don't have those problems. Even my audio sync doesn't change. So yeah, I mustn't gloat. And then Mike, the Colossus rebuild project, it took us 14 years. There's about 20 of us over the years, some of the people working from home, but the core was about 6 of us, and the project took 14 years to complete. During the war, the first one, the Colossus Mark 1, that took 9 months of development and build. So it took 9 months from its conception right the way through to when it was delivered to the park. And then the later machines, the Mark IIs, because it's a war effort, they were being produced one every 6 weeks until the end of the war. 10 were operational at Bletchley Park. 12 were ordered, but only 10 were ever built and were operational. And the last two, which is 9 and 10, at the end of the war, they went to East Coast. All the others were dismantled. And the last Colossus was destroyed in 1960, and I actually met the guy who actually did it. And from what he told me, I knew he was the guy, because he told me something that very few people knew, and he didn't even think it was significant. But anyhow, so yeah, so the last one was destroyed in 1960. And when was Colossus declassified? Well, the name Colossus did exist. They knew that it was a computer at Bletchley Park. That was known from about 1975. But what Colossus did was kept under wraps until Bletchley Park actually opened. So that was in about 1994, I think, 96, something like that. Bletchley Park opened. And only then did Colossus sort of end up in the public domain. However, we were not allowed to talk about what Colossus did until 2000, when a particular document was released. And in actual fact, technically, we're not even allowed to have the general public in the room. That was one of the stipulations by GCHQ for us to build the machine. Public were not allowed to be in this room as Colossus, so we were supposed to keep the door locked. However, we did open up the door occasionally, but it technically remained classified until 2000. So that's that. What else we got? Oh yeah, Nick, happy birthday, mate, for tomorrow. Have a good one, mate. You're just a couple of years older than I am. Not much, but just a couple. But yeah, have a good day. And as for the valves, the rev valves, they were EF36s or EF37s. They were the ones that we use on Colossus. As for DVDs, the best media to store video, I would say, is film. It lasts for a pretty long time. So, you know, I think the old techniques are probably more reliable. But anyhow, that's my personal opinion. Leon, the manufacturer of the valves, basically, there was 2,000 in each Colossus. There was 10 Colossi. That's 25,000 valves. And basically, they were just got them from wherever they could. As long as they were the particular type that were required, they went to any manufacturer, as long as they were approved by the General Post Office. They're the guys who actually designed and built Colossus. So basically, it could have come from anywhere. What else is there? Oh yeah, Gary, National Radio Centre. They do have a narrowband Q100 kit there. That's narrowband. But I've been told this year that they will be having a wideband for TV, but it will only be receive. It won't be TX, because the location of the dish will be accessible by the public. So for health and safety reasons, there is no way that they are going to be able to transmit unless they are able to move the dish to somewhere else. And that I don't know if that is going to happen. Have I answered everything on all these notes I've got here? I'm sure I haven't. But there we go. As for me next week, apart from going to Bletchley Park and to the museum and hoping to do some video, I won't be working on H.266, and I'll explain why. I built a Virgin install on an i7 base unit, and this is using Linux, and I installed FFmpeg, and I was using this PC as almost like a piece of hardware. So I was streaming from this machine here, from OBS, straight into FFmpeg on this dedicated PC. So it's an i7, and every single core on that machine was sitting there at 80, 90, 100%. Basically, it could never work on that machine. So I think my H266 for the time being is going to be put on the shelf, because none of my machines, other than my OBS machine, is going to be powerful. And I don't even know if this machine is going to be powerful to run it, but I ain't going to muck around with it, because if I do that, I could muck up my OBS, and I don't really want to do that. Anyway, that's enough of me for waffling. I'm going to hand it back to Frank ZS6GE. So this is M0PIT, handing over to Frank. Let's get my test card up. There's my test card. Let's kill me.
Okay, just very quick. Very interesting today again. Was a nice session. Thanks very much to everybody. I have to run, so I'll pass it on to Peter. Golf Whiskey 7 BZY. If you're still there, please take it.
That was a little bit quick. I haven't prepared for that. That was a little bit quick. BZY said that he won't come back. So Frank, you passed it on to. Let's see. Do I have a camera? Yes. Switch off my audio. Well, commenting on many others. Congrats to your 70th year's birthday. Still a few years for me, but I hope to achieve that birthmark, that birthday as well. And I would say, yeah. What else to comment on? Great net as always. And well, by the way, all the comments on my microphone, I thought I had an easy question, and on easy questions you get even easier answers. So in the meantime, I'm happy, and I can quickly show that. At least I should be able to do that. In the meantime, during the net, I made myself useful, put a piece of UTP cable out of the junk box and connected it to the wire, because I didn't want to have it shorter. At least for test purpose this works, and by now it works, and I have a microphone with a PTT button. Never mind about the loudspeaker, which is also in there, but I don't really want a loudspeaker in there. I'm not going to use it portable like this or so. So that's okay. And well, were only 4 wires, so that was simple to do. And I'm not going to put it on the net, Mike. Yeah, well, same story all over. But I have the secret code here on my wire, so on my piece of note. So if someone wants to read it, you just go to YouTube, because all the videos will stay on there. And for that command, I would say I have a NAS installed, a Synology NAS installed with 2 wires, well, 2 hard drives in there, and it will do automatic full backup to each other. So as long as both drives will work, well, if it doesn't go up in flame, it will work. Otherwise you will lose it anyway. But hey, is that the same story for every video or way? And put it on a public cloud would be the best idea if you really want to keep onto it. But you know, it's always also being used on the commercials in Japan or China or whatever. Okay, well, have a nice day, guys. See you later. And I am passing it on to Mike from Papa Alpha 3 Foxtrot Bravo X-Ray. Bye bye. See you later.
Okay. Hopefully I've got some audio. Oops. Wrong microphone there. Tried it with the other one. So, a few things to show. It'll just come to me for a second, but I'll go back to that. I don't know if Ed has a 3D printer, but well, we'll come on to that in a second. Firstly, this one. So this is this is a mechanical encoder from 1964, and it's got an 8-bit encoder in it. And if I zoom in, hopefully you'll be able to see some little wipers, and there are 2 sets of 8 of those in this unit. And if I turn it round, you may be able to see, get into the right framing, some clockwork that basically every time it does a rotation, one of the rotary encoders encodes 8 bits, 256 positions, and then it moves on 1 bit for the next lot. So that's 16 bits worth. Now I don't know what the backlash is like, but 16 bits is very, very fine, I guess. Obviously you have to gear it to the dish, because it will need to go around 256 times for 1 rotation. But I thought I'd take that apart to show you what a mechanical one looks like. I think it still works. This one here is the one I was showing earlier. I don't know if it'll focus or not on the part number, but it's only 12 bits, but it's, as Gary says, it's an optical disc inside, and they do appear. You can buy them new for far too much money, £300 or so, $300, but you do see them quite often on the internet. Now, the reason I asked if Ed does a 3D printer was I 3D printed this power pole mount, so maybe I should go to the other camera. I can probably show it a bit easier. It's just one that fits in the panel, and they come in various sizes, incidentally. You don't just have to have 2 in there. Here's a slightly bigger one, which has also got 2 in, but it's big enough to fit 3 in there. And here's the one I tend to use on amplifiers, which has got 3 side by side. Now you can actually get those commercially as well, and Andrews do Anderson do sell them. Now I'll go on to this, back onto the other camera, so let's move these various bits out of the way. this is how I tend to wire them for higher voltages. So I've got a spacer. You can buy a spacer, or you could just put another power pole in there. With 3, sometimes I have 12 volts in the middle and 50 volts or 28 volts on the outside. And these will handle more than enough current for most applications. Okay, maybe not for some of the major amplifiers that take 50 volts at 50 amps, but they'll do 40 amps. Most amplifiers are only 20 or so. In fact, the current at 50 volts is less than typically for a rig at 12 volts. So, yeah, that's my solution. And of course, with that centre thing there, you can actually just bolt that to a panel and it'll sit there. Might need some super glue or something going through some dowels in the little holes to hold it all together. Right, okay. I don't think there was anything else, but hopefully that answers Leon's question as to what the encoder was. And Gary, the reason it jumps about, by the way, is not that it's not stable. It's just that it's 0.1 degree. You don't really have to do much other than breathe on it to change the number. So it's very, very sensitive. It's like when you try to align your 2.4 meter dish. I found with mine, it's got this long bolt, which is quite fine, and the reduction on that is relatively large, but even so, it's 1/8 of a turn, and the signal's gone. It's ridiculously sharp. So you do need to have that sort of level of accuracy with a larger dish, as I'm sure we all find out. And Martin, it's very important to be at the focus. So your modification is getting you a better MER. That's good. I was just going to look to see what the MER is on the satellite at the moment. For me, it's typically about 12-ish, but I have got some trees growing, and they do tend to cause problems, especially in the summer, and they're getting bigger again. I had them cut back, so I had a good signal, and then they've grown as they do. Okay, with that then, 7-3 everybody, and on to you, Ed. Maybe you fixed your 16:9 versus 4:3. We will see. PY2 RN G0 MJW.
Yes, I hope I fix it. What about that, Gary? About the Windows updates? Yeah, that always make us suffer. Yeah, regarding thank you, Mike. I'm sorry I messed it up my first transmission, and I hopefully I have fixed that, and I forgot to switch the camera when I was showing my super project here, which is this box here. Is used to this transceiver. It's an SDR transceiver. So actually what I do is by the software I switch the band that I want, because you see 40 meters, 80 meters, it will switch the LPF, the low pass filter. So that brings some automation, and I don't have to remember to use this selector key here. So it's a little more, safer. Regarding the external camera you saw there last week, Gary, it's this application here is called Droid Cam OBS. I'm using that right now. Hi. And quite nice because it has like a a little file that you need to install on your PC, and the application goes to your cell phone if you use Android. If you use Apple, I don't know, maybe something similar, but for Android is this one, DroidCam OBS. Yep, that's about it. Thank you, Michael, for suggesting, and that's great work with the 3D printer. I don't have one, but I know a few people that have it, so maybe that's gonna be a good idea. And I didn't know that there was a separator. Who's here? Yeah. The separator is very nice. I'll get some of those. Yeah, amplifiers usually, you know, what around the 50 runs over 53 volts and 25 amps max, no more than 25, 28 amps. So I think it's gonna be suitable. So thank you all. Very interesting net, very interesting presentations. I hope you all get a nice upcoming week, and see you next week. 73 from Papa Yankee 2 Radio November with the shaking cam. And Nick, sorry, Nick, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you, and all the best. And just to let you guys know, for Leon, there's one more guy on the list, Mike 0 Juliet Tango Tango, John. So Leon, when you finish, just pass to John, Mike 0 Juliet Tango Tango. Bye bye 73.
Yeah, okay, Ed. Yeah, okay. Turn my audio down. Yeah, thanks for the wishes, best wishes. Thank you very much, everybody. Yeah, talking about Windows updates. I'm still on Windows 10 here. It keeps trying to get me to go to Windows 11, but I am resisting at the moment. In fact, there was an awful lot of people complaining on Twitter, I think it was it last week? The last update, there were so many things that weren't working anymore. These were people on Windows 11, so I'm going to stick with my Windows 10 at the moment. So see how we get on with that. Right, okay, I think that's more or less it. I think thanks, Phil, for the information on the valves, EF36, EF37. Yeah, okay, and yeah, Martin, the EF50s. I remember those. They were used in all sorts of things, weren't they? I had a 9-inch television set that had a whole strip of EF50s in there. That was in the IF. I think that was a TV, was it a TV 22 or TV 24 or something? A long time ago. Right, okay. Oh, and yeah, Leon, those marks on that that plus RW, they're not on the surface. They're the surface, which is the plastic. It's the layer underneath, and some of those spots, there's about half a dozen of these spots over the whole thing, and some of them are sort of, you know, halfway in, or, you know, but so I don't know, I don't think it's moisture. I don't think moisture would have penetrated in that far, but it's just something's happened to like a chemical reaction or something. So I don't know. Anyway, thanks for all the suggestions there of how to store things, but obviously a lot of my material now has been lost. I still have some of the original videotapes, but the problem is finding a video recorder to actually play them on. So I do have a video recorder, but I don't know whether it still works. But anyway, we'll look into that. Right, that's about it, I think. So, yeah, that's it. So, yeah, I did notice that after Leon, there is a M0JTT John on the list. I don't know whether he's going to transmit, but hopefully we'll see something from him. So anyway, round to Leon. I'll make this one my final. I'll say cheerio to everybody, and if I survive the chocolate cake tomorrow, I'll see you all next Sunday. 73 G4IMO.
Okay, Nick. G4IMO in the group. ZS1 Mike for a final here. No, all noted. Yes, well, it's either moisture or temperature, you know, to make it. Yeah, of course, on the surface, on the transparent surface, nothing will happen. It's always in that layer, which is just underneath the paint on the back. That's where the sensitized material is. But anyway, if you say it's not moisture, then I don't know. But yeah, it was just a bad batch. But don't use re-recordable stuff for archiving. Definitely not. Store them in a cool, dry, dark place, and they should be fine. As I say, we've tried to break one and we couldn't. It was really very robust. Okay, Gary, I think you've forgotten about me. You didn't say a word. So anyway, I have to sign out. I've been on my batteries for 2 hours now running the station, and I don't want to run them too low. So I'm going to say cheerio for now, and I'll give it to John M0JTT. And yeah, see you next time from ZS1 Mike.
Good afternoon all. Yes, call signs and I've just bombed out. Oh, we're back again. Right, let me just mute myself. Yeah, I have multiple call signs. G7JTT was my first ever call sign. When I first got licensed, I then got 20AZ when I took the 5 words a minute Morse, and then I can't remember that. So I ended up with M5AZ and then M0JTT. I can't remember why I ended up with so many different call signs, but I ended up taking 12 words a minute and got the M0. But when the G7s over here got full status, I went back to the original one. So the Morse is now a distant memory. I can remember some of it, but I certainly wouldn't be able to hold a QSO again, which is a shame, really. I kind of wish I could. I do miss it. So yeah, apologies for a late show. I wasn't going to come up today, but Gary convinced me to come on to show my face, so that I'm still alive, still kicking, etc. I was out yesterday with a friend of mine, and we went for us a relatively short walk, but for me at the moment a very long walk of about 7 miles or so, over the sort of what's called a test way, which is sort of a walk that goes along the River Tess, which is quite close to us, a very famous river in the south coast. And yeah, it was very pleasant. A couple of fine establishments were visited along the way, albeit that I still can't, or still chose not to drink at the moment for various reasons. I did have some blackcurrant juice and 6 through whilst he had a very nice, lovely pint of something. But anyway, I wasn't jealous at all. Haven't really been that active, to be honest, with regards to TV. The only thing I've been doing is playing with SDR Angel, and I must say I'm really impressed with it. It seems to work very, very well. And if you use the UDP output as opposed to the built-in video player, you can actually use it to watch H.266 as well. So in fact, watch it on F1 OJS. So if I just quickly buzz over, there we go. So you can see there that that's the live video. There's his signal there. We've got lock because we've got a green button down there, or green light down there, and the constellation isn't too bad either. So you tend to get a little bit lower MER on this. At the moment, that's reading around about 6 MER, 6 dB. I don't know what I'm receiving on the mini tuner would be, but it's usually about a dB lower for some reason. So if you've got things that are marginable with the mini tuner or open tuner, you'll struggle on this. But as long as it's sort of 1 or 2 dB above what it needs to be, it seems to lock very quickly. And the beauty with this, of course, is you can use it to go all the way down to ridiculously low SR rates as well. Anyway, so that's kind of what I've been playing. That's about all I've done with TV. It's not the easiest software to use. You've really got to sort of fumble your way through it. And this, there is, I think, Michelle, HB9DUG, is it? I think that's right. He's done a really good write-up on it. But I haven't got the link at hand at the moment, but I'm sure if you sort of search around, you'll probably find it. But it's once you've got it working, it works really well. And I'm using it with an S by R2. It does work with an RTL dongle, but I just used the R2 as I had it plugged in at the time. So, but that was it. So really, apart from that and a nice long walk yesterday, it's just been a case of watching YouTube videos and cooking and cleaning and everything else that I do around the house at the moment. It's weather-wise, it's been strange down here. We've had the sunshine. Yesterday was really sunny. I've actually got burnt yesterday, but we've got really, like you said, Leon, we've got cold winds. So although the air temperature's relatively warm when you're in the sun, if you get exposed to the wind, it really is quite chilly. So it still gives me the pins and needles and problems and things like that at the moment. So everybody else is walking around shorts and t-shirts, and I've got to still wrap up relatively warm. But anyway, there we go. So with that, let's put it back to Gary to close the net. And apologies again for being late on. I shall try my best to get on time, even if I haven't got anything to say. 7 for now, G7 JTT.
Okay, John, very good. G7 JTT ZS6YI. Well, welcome. I'm glad you made the appearance. And if you're doing 7-kilometer walk, you're a lot fitter than what I am. So well done. And I know you've had a rough time medically, but I'm very pleased to see you looking great. So wonderful. Leon, my humble apologies. I was on the wrong page. I forgot to flip the page, and I wanted to say 2 things. Firstly, thank you very, very much for all the scans that you sent. I got them perfectly nicely filed. And secondly, please close that door. We don't need your cold weather up here, the cold wind, because this is what happens, guys. Leon's down in the Cape. I'm up north. And when it snows on their mountains, they don't keep it. They allow the wind to go over it, and it we can have a chill factor of minus 20 degrees Celsius. I have mentioned this before. You stand out of the wind, you cook 20 degrees. Beautiful. You just put your nose in the wind, it goes blue. And it comes from Leon, so I blame him for that, you see. Anyway, I'm going to close the net now. It's Mother's Day in South Africa today, so I better organize something for dinner. And the only way I can do that is to get a takeaway. I'm no chef. I even burn the water if I make tea. So with that, I want to thank everyone on Frequency for coming up again. Been very nice and very interesting on your side, Mike, and especially that old rotary encoder. That's a fantastic bit of work. It's a really, really good gearbox that they've got there. And I don't think the backlash will be too high, if at all. And by the way, the Heineken, the Heidenine, I use Heidenine CNC controllers. They are horrendously expensive, but we use them on our CNC milling machines. And just recently I threw out a whole bunch of older ones and replaced them with their new models. And I had to do all the machines because I need one operator to be able to operate all the different machines. Not that I have one operator, I've got more. But if one's ill, he can quickly take over. So we've standardized on Heidenine controllers. They're very, very good. So we've been quite satisfied. Okay, with that, I'm going to throw the ball in the air. Wish everyone a happy week. Thanks for watching on YouTube. And of course, thanks to all those watching on normal DATV channel. 7.3, this is ZA6YI, now QRT.